Hey there, and welcome to That Independent Streak. I'm your host, Wendy Campbell, and you, my dear, are in the right place. This is where we come to talk about all the things that it felt like people weren't really talking about anymore: health, wellness, travel, relationships, but especially from the perspective of having lived a little bit of life. So maybe you've had a couple kids, a relationship, a marriage, a career, maybe it was all of those things. It seems like your time gets less and less, and so your relationships get kind of shallower and shallower. Not in a bad way. I mean, I still have my girls and we still hang out, but deeper conversations are harder to come by. So I wanted to create a place where we could create that community and have those conversations. I missed them. And so I wanted to bring you along too. Now, today's guest is no exception. Allison Chrisman is a wonderful soul. She is the developer of the P.O.W.E.R framework, which is really helping you shift from that place where you were to that future you that you see. It's kind of inherent. You kind of see what you want to be and evolve to it, but you got to get there. And sometimes it's not easy to break all of those brains and those patterns, and you need a little help. That's where she comes in. She's a wonderful soul. She's developing her practice. And well, with that, she's helping you break your foundation, your brain. It's all a big step. And when you're ready to step out, she's ready for you. So what I wanted to start with is you're the developer of the P.O.W.E.R framework. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came to the P.O.W.E.R framework and really kind of a little bit about your story to kind of introduce everyone to who you are and what you're all about?
Sure. So my name is Allison Chrisman, and I like to call myself a truth seeker. Instead of a coach, I was kind of sitting with that for a little while. And I'm like, I just really don't like that term. And I was doing coaching with someone who works with people doing like a speech about like their story. And we were working on, I was going to do a speech at an expo. And we were talking about like, what does, she kept asking me, like, what does all of this mean to you? And I'm like, power. And she was like, okay, and what does power mean to you? And it just started like coming like to me immediately. I'm like, it's not power as in the way that most people think of power of like you're in this position of like I'm, this powerful being and I'm in charge of all of these things. I'm like, she's like, what about an acronym for this? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be amazing. I'm like, okay, P is like your purpose. And that's like way beyond your role as a mother, a father, a wife, husband, your role at your job. It's like, what are you here for?
Mm-hmm.
And most of us don't really think of that. They think, oh, I'm attached to this. I'm your wife and I'm this. Who are you without all of those things? And then the O is owning your truth, whether someone really understands it or not. A lot of times that's hard for us to live that path because we've been told the way that we're supposed to be. And the W is your why. And I've always liked to ask why ever since I was little, because if you don't know why, who does?
Right.
Right? Yeah. And then the E is embodiment, and that's like truly living the way that you are, your being in all aspects of your life. And R is like reclaiming all of that,
Mm-hmm.
reclaiming your purpose, your why, and owning your truth and just embodying that in your being. So that's how I came up with the framework. Um,
What brought you to sitting down with us and really trying to identify it? I mean, it's one thing to get the download and say, okay, well, this is the way I'm going and this is what I'm doing. But was there things in your life that made you sit down with that introspection and that need to kind of identify a direction and identify a way to go? Or was it just a matter of you were meditating one day and the download came?
of course, it's been a long journey. We all have a journey, right?
Right.
Um, so I've been married 3 times. My path has been anything but linear, totally outside of the box. Um, I thought that relationships, jobs, degrees, all of these things, owning different houses, that I would be happy.
Hmm.
And none of that brought me happiness. So it was around the time my dad got sick with metastatic prostate cancer. And I started really reflecting on life and what it meant, right?
Mhm.
I had a lot of time to think about that. And I'm like, is this the way I want to live my life? Like, why am I living my life this way? And my role kind of shifted and I helped take care of him until he passed away. And after that, I was like, there's got to be more. Like, there really has to be more. And I saw this flyer for a yoga festival. And I'm like, I don't know anyone here. I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to go. And I went and I was like in the back corner. I was like, I don't want anyone to see me, call on me, anything. I'm like, I just want to do this. And I'd only signed up for a few things. And then I was like, this is amazing. It was like all of these things. It wasn't just yoga, it was like mantra and meditation and just all different kinds of things, especially that we don't have here in the Midwest, like that I've never been introduced to. And I asked the lady who was running it, I was like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? She's like, yeah, sign up. So I ended up taking all of these classes. And then I was like, this is it. Like, I've never felt this way. I was surrounded by people that felt like my tribe for once in my life. Like,
Mhm.
I'm like, I can really feel this energy because I think that's something that I struggled with throughout life is that I feel very deeply, and most people are very disconnected. And I'm like, just sitting in this energy was amazing. So after that, I enrolled in a Chopra life coach training. And there was kind of like a little, I was in a little argument with myself really about it. Cause it's like a point where you get like sick of your own shit.
Mhm.
That was it, right?
Right.
I, what happened is I was like going back and forth about it for a while. And I went to this breath work class. And I went to that class that night. I did the breath work and it was very transformational. And I came home, I saw, like, I looked at all these programs. I saw it, it like just came up, and I was like, how come I've never seen this one before? And it was like starting in like 3 days, I enrolled. That program definitely changed my life. And then it just kept progressing. Like each retreat, each experience I had, it just kept taking me deeper and deeper. And now here I am.
Nice. Nice. You mentioned a couple of things. So I think I think we are very disconnected. I think with social media, I think just with life, we've lost our community, we've lost our hometown feel and
Yeah.
have been separated, especially in the bigger cities where, you may or may not know your neighbor. You may or may not ever talk to your neighbor. And I think, especially as women, inherently we're driven to connect. We're driven to kind of like that sisterhood is very important. So when you talk about going to different retreats and different lectures and and different opportunities, it's almost as if that connection helps bring you to that second place of really identifying who you are and where you're going. Do you feel that's the same? Like, do you think that had anything to do with kind of where you started finding your way, is connecting with a tribe of people who did understand what you were going through and did want to kind of walk you through that?
Yes, of course. I think that the second part of the journey was when I went to my yoga teacher training. I did an immersive experience in Mexico, and I was lucky to have a group of 6 people, and they were from mm, 2 people are from the United States, one from Canada, one from Germany, and one from Switzerland.
Hmm.
And generally, the classes are about 20 people. And this experience, again, took me to a different level of like meeting people who are on a similar path, but also you don't even, each opportunity that I've been presented with changes where I'm going
Hmm.
at all times. It opens me to new ideas and maybe not change as in I'm not doing this anymore, but as I have more to offer. and I have more experience, and it's just like a knowing for me. So yes, this created something I've never had before
Hmm.
with these women. And like, and I've been in bigger containers too, where it was just energetically um being seen. I don't think that we feel seen.
I think that's
Yeah.
true. I think that's true. And I was thinking before we hopped on, about the different type of women who might want to hear this message, kind of trying to think of, okay, well, what is the situation that they're in? And I think, you talk about three marriages, and I'm nothing traditional. Like in my life, like tradition went out the window when I think I was 13 and I just never looked back. But I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of women who are in relationships that, because of the situation that we're in as a community, also are very isolated. And I wonder if it isn't breaking down, and not that I'm recommending that everybody needs to be married, but it isn't breaking down relationships and families and things, because there is that isolation, and that isolation is deafening. And when you just got yourself and you're in your own chamber and all you're hearing are the messages that you're getting, in some cases, your partner isn't healthy, your relationship isn't in a good relationship, but you don't know how to speak through it or how to move on past it. What would you say, if I came to you and I said, I'm in this relationship, I don't know if I want to leave it. And I know a lot of women who stay in relationships far too long, but I don't know if I want to leave it, but I also need to change and I want to grow. How would you help them grow?
I think that's where the framework comes in of working with someone. We all come in at different like parts of our journey of like what we're ready to even hear. And I think what I always say is that we have to get quiet enough to really hear ourselves. Like we've heard all of these messages. We've been told of a lot of little lies, is what
Mhm.
I like to say, about who we should be and what makes us happy. Right? Like as a girl, you're told, oh, if I get married and I have this husband and I have this job and this house and this family, this is what I do as a woman. And that's just what you go off of, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I think really it's just getting quiet enough. That's the first thing. So I have a lot of somatic like exercises and getting in touch with your intuition. And that can be difficult. That was difficult for me, is that I ignored my intuition so many times.
Mhm.
But again, I think even in this culture, we're not made aware of that, of like what that means,
Well, I
right?
think it's
Like how
hard
does
too because it means something different. I feel like it means, like, people who, if you don't know how to listen to your intuition, understanding what you're listening for can be tricky.
right? So I think that that's where a lot of the work is. I do one-on-ones, but I'm also looking to do a group container with people to really, I think that's where expansion occurs.
Hmm.
Whenever you're in a small container with women and you realize, hey, there are other people like me. We might not be at the same exact point, but we can all learn from each other. Sometimes you do feel isolated. You're like, am I the only person experiencing this? Everyone else looks happy, and like social media, right? Like you think that all these people are posting pictures of their vacation, but are they truly happy when they're really
Hmm.
questioning all of this? And I think that those group containers are where those conversations can happen.
Hmm.
Um, and whenever you feel empowered by other women, that's where the change happens. And whenever other women can really hold space for you, I think that that was also something difficult for me, is that I didn't believe that for a long time, that we are here to cheer each other on. There's room for all of us.
Hmm. Well, and
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit of society's push for competition. Like, there's something entertaining, I think, not that I enjoy it, but there's something entertaining about women who are competing with each other. where I don't think that's our natural state. I do think and feel that, and one of the reasons I created the channel was to just get an opportunity to get those conversations started again, because I feel like we aren't talking to each other anymore. I feel like we're not having conversations, especially as you get through stages of your life. There's all these conversations about you should be this way and you should, make sure you look the right way, make sure you dress the right way, act the right way, and then your tribe will accept you, but we won't because we're secretly judging you on the backside. I think that especially as we get older, there's a responsibility for that sageness to kind of try and reframe that conversation for not just ourselves, but for younger generations too, to really understand that no, tribe is a way more important thing. We need to really connect with each other, and we really need to speak our truths in order to understand, where we belong in this scenario and as we go forward. Um,
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like speaking your truth is difficult.
mhm. I think it is because
Um,
I think it's hard to define it, and especially if you've got a lot of voices in your head. I've certainly been in some relationships where there is no other word but abusive, where you've got someone telling you who you are, telling you what you are, telling you what you can think, how you can think, why what you think is wrong. And you get isolated, and I think that's where the breakdown happens. As soon as
mhm.
you start feeling that isolation and that break apart from your relationships, that's where that other voice takes hold, and it does feel like moving mountains to kind of move from that. um, I don't know.
Yes. Yes. I can agree with this. It's that's where the whole tribe comes in, and it's scary, right? Like to go to an event, maybe you don't know anyone, and that's how it was, and that's how it's been um to for a lot of events that I went to. But each time I become stronger and stronger, and I'm like, this is what I need. And it reminds yourself of who you really are, who you've always been.
Hmm.
You've just forgotten because everyone else has told you, hey, this.
Hmm.
And I've met some incredible women that I never, I didn't think that this existed. And this is where I feel like I can be seen. I can be all of me.
Hmm.
And, that's hard to do. You can't be all of you at work.
Hmm. And unapologetically.
Yes, that's my
I
favorite.
like to challenge those boundaries people give me.
Yeah, I like to challenge lots of things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's fun in the challenge. Like, I feel like, I grew up in a very structured family, where, you know, we had to look a certain way, we had to be a certain way. Nothing was supposed to leave the family unit. You weren't supposed to talk about your personal life outside of the family unit. Um, why, I don't know, because, my grandmother had very strong relationships, but we weren't supposed to talk about things. And it took me a while to really understand that if that didn't work for me and I was going to use my voice, I had to accept that there may be some breaks in relationships. There may be some people who, within my core group of friends, in my family, in my society, my world, that may not appreciate what I was going to say, but it still had to be authentically me. It still had to be what I had to say as opposed to what someone else had to say, because it's easy to parrot and to give back what you've been given,
Mhm.
but to think for yourself and to really push yourself to understand the depths of who you are, that's a challenge that a lot of people can be somewhat timid to take. Um, I think it's fun, but I think you know what I mean. Like, I think that there's a little bit of hesitation. So for those people who still may be hesitating, and I mean, I just like, as far as you coming through your process and coming to really the point where you're, looking for your outer tribe, what kind of steps did you take to kind of walk yourself to that? Because it's going from, through some, rocky relationships, to suddenly finding yourself, that's not a short process. That's a developed process that takes time, right?
Right, right. I think, first it's like you're always thinking it's you. It's like, how is it always me? And I'm not saying that I'm not responsible because I am. And I
Right.
wasn't being true to myself. And I think that we don't, again, we're not taught how to be true to ourselves. And what that even means.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it was a long process for me to really truly understand that you have to do what feels right for you, even if it's uncomfortable for everyone else around you. And even, like saying to people, oh, I've been married 3 times, that some people are like, how? You're not that old. And, you know, the comments that they can have about it. And I'm at a point where now I'm like, I don't care. I will continue to honor what feels right for me, even if it doesn't make sense for the rest of you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's scary to grow and change, um, because your your tribe might change,
Right.
and that scares people too. Of, always when I'm always putting myself in bigger rooms with people, and when you expand to a certain level, like some things in your life won't work anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and that is scary. And I think things that helped me with that, along the way were, I still go to therapy. That helps me process things. I also have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yoga, that's like everyone thinks, oh, this is just for your body, right? It's your mind, quieting your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Breath work, journaling, music,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things have helped me come to myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Hang on. I have a whole bunch of questions, but I'm also blind, so bear with me.
Okay.
So, what do you think it means to be too much?
Mhm. I love that. People tell me that all the time. Um, you're never too much. You might be too much for them because they can't meet you where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a them problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take it as a compliment and know that they're not your people
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
I wear it like a badge of honor, but yes.
Yes. Yeah, I've been told this a lot of times.
I think, one thing I struggle with, especially today in the world and its noise, is finding tribe. So, I'm completely content, at home, kind of in my space, but also I know that I look out and I see, the world, and you want to be involved, and you want to have your sisterhoods, you want to have your connections. Um, Short of going to a yoga class, short of developing with a coach, what do you think is like, how would you coach someone to going out and finding their tribe?
Well, I think that again, it's about listening and honoring what makes you feel alive.
Hmm.
So again, being in that space of being quiet, like thinking about when are the times in life that you have felt most alive? I mean, it could be trying to remember as a child, right? Like
Hmm.
maybe it was like you're doing art, you're singing, you're dancing, any of those things. We've forgotten that. We've been told we can't do those things because we're not good enough, or that's what children do, or whatever it is. So I think finding what's right for you, right? Like meditations might not be right for every person. They might not feel comfortable. They might not want to do yoga. They might not want to coach.
Hmm.
But I think that there are opportunities for tribe in all different walks of life, right? Like
Hmm.
you can do anything. So I think that it's important to find something, again, that makes you feel alive.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I think it's challenging sometimes, especially when you get into, different phases of life. One, getting married and going into that relationship phase where you're with a partner and you have to kind of change your scope, it can be good growth, but it also kind of requires some introspection on kind of understanding who you want to be in that relationship and holding to that. And then you go through the phase of children where, okay, now you've got a child, you know, how are you in that relationship as well? And how do you balance the two? And then, personally me, going through that phase of some of my children are, grown and out of the house, that empty nest change where, okay, now I have to redefine who I am. I just had another kid and jumped over all that, but, finding out who you are, through each step, because I think some people, I talk to some people and they are exactly the person they were when they were 15. And that's great. If that works for you, that's great. But I think that, um, you know, there is power in evolving.
Mhm.
But I think it's hard and I think it's scary sometimes.
Of course, it's very scary. And I think that's like again about my framework, about finding your purpose, because it's very important to know who you are without all of those things.
Hmm.
All of those things can change, right?
Hmm.
Like life is all about impermanence and if something is taken away, how are you going to sustain yourself, right?
Hmm.
Like who are you? How can you keep that calm in your life if you don't have this or that? Um, so definitely know like getting in touch with that purpose. And that can take a long time and that also changes.
Hmm.
Um, and that's fine. I think that that's another thing that scares people is that they think that, oh, I went to college to do this and I have to do this. I
Hmm.
spent all of this money and I have to do this. Or I got married to this person and I have to be with them because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, is this your voice or is this someone else's voice?
Hmm. Well, and I think too, when you talk about the voices in your head and you talk about intuition specifically, a lot of a lot of people I've spoken to who feel they have to do something because the shoulds, I hate the shoulds, but this is what I should do. This is who I should be with. This is where I should be in my life. I should have kids. I should be married. I should have this car, whatever the should is. The shoulds are very dangerous, but also those are very, for lack of a better word, terrestrial. They're very planetary. They're coming from other people. Um,
Right.
I think, to sit down and authentically really try to connect. There is a huge challenge. I know yoga is super helpful for me anyway in kind of quieting myself to listen. Meditation is always a challenge for me because my brain is always going. "Tuk, tuk, tuk, tuk." But but I think, there is that intuition to listen to that intuition and really tap into that intuition. What kind of tips would you offer to someone to, help them stop listening to the shoulds and start listening to the source of their truth?
So I have a technique. It's called soft. So it's like settle. So you're just like stopping and you're like, okay, you're just simply like, I'm going to be here in this moment. And you can do this anywhere. No one knows that you're doing it. And then observing the sensations in your body. What are your thoughts? Where are your thoughts taking you? What emotions? And just naming it.
Hmm.
You don't have to get into it. It's like, oh, this is, you know, anxiety. This is anger, whatever it could be. And then just allow it. It's like we don't have to take off with it in any way. It's just like feel what you're feeling and then tend. It's like maybe you're placing your hand on your heart, or maybe you're just taking a few deep breaths and you're just giving yourself that space to really feel what's happening for you in the moment. Because I don't think that we do that.
Hmm.
We take off with the emotion because emotions only last 90 seconds, but generally we can't make it through the 90 seconds and we just immediately react.
Hmm.
instead of just taking a breath. Um, and that's been something that I worked with is really noticing your body because we've turned off our bodies as well.
Hmm.
So whenever over time, when you start working with this, you will start to notice like, oh, I'm feeling this sensation. Maybe it's in your neck. Like maybe my neck gets tense. Or when these sorts of things happen, my legs are getting tense or whatever. And you start noticing patterns. And then this is where you really start to be like, oh, I'm aware of my body. And then that's building that intuition.
Hmm.
So those are things that really help me.
Sounds like it might also help you really fall asleep at night. I mean, it sounds like what I do when
Yeah.
I'm trying to fall asleep. So I, like I said, I have a rambling brain. I'm very Gemini and I'm all over the place. So at night or whenever I'm trying to sleep, I can feel myself like doing the, I guess ruminations, right? You're going,
Yeah.
you're reliving the day, you're having conversations, you're thinking about things, you're, you know, trying to manifest whatever you're trying to do right before bed. I will feel myself doing that and I'll stop myself intentionally and put myself in my head, like physically imagine like a block on my head, and I
Hmm.
focus on the block on my head, or I guess my third eye, and and um and then concentrate on breath work. And then once I do that, I immediately fall asleep, which is kind of sounds
Yeah.
like a little bit like that. So in that same breath, there is a lot of anxiety in the world today. There is a lot of stress, a lot of apprehension and fear. It's easy to get wrapped up in politics and, the world and what's happening and, the economy. And even something as simple as, people stress me out. So how do I deal with getting out into the world if I'm stressed out by people? How do you help people walk through that stress and that anxiety?
Yeah, I think that is a scary place to be. And I think a lot of people are in that space. They're in the rat race of the world, right?
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes I think that can be really difficult is that you've been out in the world all day in your workplace, and then the thought of going out and meeting new people um, is scary because then again, it's those ruminations, what ifs, right?
Hmm.
So I think that again, that's where some of those practices come in of like breathing and opening your mind to maybe the what if could turn into positives, right? Like, what if I meet a new person that could change my life?
Hmm.
What if anything, right? Like, what if there's so much, like, for me, I didn't even believe that there's like people that can truly like love you just as a human.
Hmm.
Like that's the space that I came from of like, how can someone provide this space and hold space for me just because they truly care about other people? But I think like it is, I mean, and I was scared too to go. I mean, from where I came from to now, like I don't even recognize myself.
Mm. I think that's fun too, to look back at the different, I'm up there in age. I've been around a few seasons, but looking back, especially now that my kids are getting older, looking back at where I was at that stage in life and
Hmm.
thinking about my personality and my headspace, and it's almost like watching different evolutions, like watching different movies of yourself. And I think
Yes.
there's some value in being able to look back and like give grace to that and
Yeah.
then move on,
Hmm.
because who I was at 27, 35, poor child. Like I mean, it's definitely not where I am now, but I had to go, and each person, I'm sure, does this. Each person has to go through those evolutions in order to get to the next place. Ideally, I think.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, some of the fear may keep you from taking that step and keep you in that space, but I think it's our job to grow. I think it's our job to learn about ourselves and really expand kind of our intentional awareness.
Yeah. We owe it to ourselves. Like that was something. that I think I was searching for was always outside of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that all of the happiness was in something, right? A a degree, a man, a if I have this house, if I have all, I at one time I just recently sold my house. I had 5 acres. It was a beautiful property, and people are like, "Oh, your life is so great." And I'm like, "This is not the way I want to live my life anymore." I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "I want to be free." And like it's it's difficult, because people are always judging no matter what, right? That they think that this will make it better, and we're all guilty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that it's like remembering to feel alive, right?
Right.
Like what makes you feel alive. Um, this is something that I found this song like last week when I was getting ready. I was going to teach at this festival and a retreat. And I'm not exactly sure how you say her name. It's like Parties and V Ferg, but it's called I Am the Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it goes like this. It's like, I am the mountain. I am the rainstorm. I am the ocean. I am the way home. Hello, butterfly. I am the sun. I am the lustrous. I am the one I've been seeking out my whole life. And I was like, oh, this is really speaking to me. I'm like, I am the mountain. It's like, yeah, I have to climb the mountain
Mm-hmm.
to overcome my fears. That's me. And then I'm like, the rainstorm. I'm like, I create my own storms because life is really not that complicated. It's our minds that
Mm-hmm.
make it complicated
Yes.
and the stories that we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I am the ocean, and it's like I'm expansive. We're all expansive. We all have the capability of expanding if you're willing. And that was like my word for the weekend was, well, we did a cacao ceremony at the end. And not only did I teach, but I helped, I co lead with the lady who hosts the entire event now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is one, we had to have a word of gratitude, and then what word that we're carrying forward. And I'm like, full circle. I was like, I was in that back corner not very long ago, terrified. Now I'm up here leading and
Mm-hmm.
helping you. And carrying forward, I'm going to be expansive. Like this expanded my mind. I know what I'm capable of, and I will continue to do that. And I want to provide space for other people and show other people that they can also do that. We just stop believing in ourselves at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scary. And then I am the way home. It's like coming back to yourself. And then, like the butterfly, that's you coming out of your cocoon
Mm-hmm.
and you're ready to show everyone your gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's beautiful.
I love that song.
That's really beautiful. What
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of talk about finding the muse and understanding where your inspiration comes from, whether it's to challenge yourself to going to a yoga retreat or leading the yoga retreat or even just connecting and taking that creative step forward. I think it's not always easy for people to find their muse. But when you go to look for your muse, what do you do?
Well, I wasn't looking. I think that it just kind of like found me, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I was open. I think being open is important. Open to anything, any possibility. I think that we close ourselves off and we limit ourselves again by those voices of this is what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you could be doing anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
what's stopping you? So just
And
really
why?
having, yeah, why? Why? It's my favorite question. Why?
Mm, yeah.
Why? And why
I
not?
mean, a lot of trouble in school. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as I could talk, it was why.
Mm.
Um, so I think being open,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. You have to be open. If you close yourself, you close your heart, you are going to miss a lot of opportunity in life. And not And I don't say opportunity as in that it has to be a job or money or any of these things. There's so many opportunities
Mhm.
that even I missed
Mhm.
because I was scared. There was so much fear. And I had fear this past weekend, but I was like, no, I'm not going to let this win
Mhm.
this time. We're gonna do it.
I think fear is tricky because fear is very real and
Hmm.
it's very powerful. But it's also very self-generated. The things I was afraid of in my youth, I'm no longer afraid of because I've seen the other side of it. And I don't know that it's always easy for people to look down the road, because fear in itself kind of sets all of those inherent and instinctual urges to try and protect you. So to look past the fear, and breathe through the fear, I think is a trick that you have to teach yourself to do, but it's very personal too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where like remembering that we only have like this moment, right? This is the present moment and focusing on now,
Mm-hmm.
not the what ifs or what happened last time, because this is a new time.
Right.
Every chance that you get is it's a new opportunity, and everything's changing moment by moment. So we can't allow our thoughts to take us off on a little journey.
Very tricky, very tricky.
It is.
So you mentioned you have some containers that you're trying to put together and some things that you're looking to develop and grow. What does that look like for you in the next few months?
So, I have a container that I'm working on. It's called Take Your Power Back. And it goes over everything we're talking about the power framework. They would be 90-minute sessions, a group of 8 people. So, definitely an opportunity to build trust, and it's group work. It's introducing practices that will help you with these, coming to your purpose. I do guided meditations, and there's journaling as well to really give you space to think about this on your own in your own time, because a lot of times we think the answers come in the sessions, and I can tell you from my own experience that you can talk about things, but it may be like a week or two, or maybe it's longer. And then you're like, oh, and then that's when the growth happens. So that container. And then I have some other ideas that I'm thinking about after this weekend. I would really like to put together a small retreat, something 10 to 12 women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So that's on my mind. And I've also recently started doing sound healing as well.
Nice. What does that
So
look like?
so I play the gong, and I also I got a singing bowl, and that was part of my expansion this last weekend. I just got a singing bowl the week before, and this lady had a set, and she was like 15 minutes before the session. There were like, I don't know, 40 some people in there. She's like, "Do you want to play on stage for like the last 30 minutes of this class?" And I was like, no. My mom was like, nope. And I was like, no. Like everyone's gonna be all these thoughts, right? The
Mm-hmm.
fear. They're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be judging me.
The
And what if
ifs.
I mess up?
Mm-hmm.
And all the what ifs. And I was like, let me think about it. And then I was like, no, Allison, you're not going to, let this run you again. I was like, I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'll figure it out. And people are like, what? That was the first time? I was like, yeah, I just did it. I'm like, I'm pushing through. So, and that was also, I think that's fun of being in this container with women, right? That I've seen year after year. It's like watching each other grow from this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're all, at different points in our journey, but to see each person grow and change is amazing.
Hmm.
Um,
And that comes back to the community. I mean, that brings it all right back to
mhm.
building out your tribe and finding your community and the importance and value of surrounding yourself with people who are encouraging you and want you to grow and want you to thrive and are watching and caring for kind of your soul as you do that. I
Right.
think, that's a very huge part of it. And if it's one friend, then it's one friend. If it's 50, then it's 50. But I think finding that tribe is key.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it was just so cool, like in the closing ceremony, just to listen to what everyone had to say and just the emotions of
Hmm.
like knowing that we're all in this together. We forget that we
Hmm.
are all in this together. We're all experiencing different things, but at the same time, it's relatable,
Hmm.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. It really is. How can people find you?
My website is www.allisonchrisman.com, and my Instagram is I am Allison Chrisman.
I like it. I like it a lot. Allison, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing everything about your power framework and sharing all your experiences and your honesty. I appreciate all of it.
Thank you for having me.
So, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me, really. But also, I want to invite you to take a moment to listen to some of the other shows that we've done. In fact, one that I highly recommend is Christine Genovese and the Soul Intelligence Method. It's a great conversation. She's changing the world. It's going to be big, and you should definitely check it out because it really kind of gets you. And we've got some great guests coming up, so don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. There's some great ones coming, and I encourage you to share your feedback in any way you want. You can find me on my website. You can find me on the socials. But I appreciate you being here. I thank you always.